Ukraine is set to receive at least 61 F-16 fighter jets in the coming months after the US approved proposals from Denmark and the Netherlands to donate their own aircraft. The two European countries have been leading efforts as part of an 11-country coalition to train and equip Ukraine with fighter jets, but were waiting on US permission, which has only just been given. Ukraine has been calling for modern jets to help counter Russian air superiority. However, repeated delays have hampered progress, with any development still likely a long way off. But the US's approval means F-16s operated by other countries are now available for re-export to Ukraine after training of the pilots is completed. The go-ahead came when the US Secretary of State gave assurances of the US's full support for both the transfer of F-16 fighter aircraft to Ukraine and for the training of Ukrainian pilots by qualified F-16 instructors. Secretary Blinken added, "It remains critical that Ukraine is able to defend itself against ongoing Russian aggression and violation of its sovereignty." Following this commitment, Denmark and the Netherlands released a joint statement on strengthening the Ukrainian Air Force, agreeing to the donation of the F-16 aircraft to Ukraine after the training of pilots and other conditions were met. It's understood 61 F-16 fighters are to be transferred to Ukraine in the coming months, with Denmark's Prime Minister confirming the country would provide 19 jets, with an additional 42 fighters from the Netherlands, according to President Zelensky. While the approval is positive news for Ukraine, it comes after substantial delays, with it now unlikely the jets will be used until the second half of 2024. Delays were blamed in the absence of formal approval from the US that resulted in the start of training being repeatedly pushed back, with the Ukrainian pilots also undertaking a 4-month course in English military aviation terminology. The initial group of pilots are not due to complete training until summer of next year. While appreciative of the progress, Ukrainian officials have been unable to hide disappointment at the delays, with the Ukrainian Air Force spokesman stating, "It's already obvious we won't be able to defend Ukraine with F-16 fighter jets during this autumn and winter. And it's also not clear how significant a difference these aircraft can make in the short to medium term, with their deployment unlikely to take place for another year when training and transfers are complete and the limited numbers initially available. However, by beginning training of pilots on NATO systems, as well as ground crews and maintenance staff, the pieces are being put in place for Ukraine to develop a strong modern air force and an ability to defend itself in the longer term." The Philippines has now completed a new resupply mission to troops on the Second Thomas Shoal, an area inside the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone that Beijing has claimed as Chinese territory. A recent attempt to supply the troops was blocked by the Chinese Coast Guard, who used water cannon on the Philippine ships, ultimately preventing one of the two boats from reaching its destination. These actions from China drew widespread international criticism and have resulted in greater cooperation from other nations in the region who have been dealing with Chinese claims of sovereignty and incursions into their territory. Australia's second-largest warship, the HMAS Canberra, is heading to the region to conduct joint exercises with the US and Philippines, with the US and Philippines also set to conduct joint patrols in the region later this year. Vietnam and the Philippines are also looking to sign a maritime cooperation agreement. It's likely due to international criticism and this new cementing of alliances to counter China's presence in the region that Beijing has attempted to defend its actions, claiming it repeatedly tried to initiate contact to resolve the matter in a peaceful manner, but that Manila had refused to abide by its agreement to remove the vessel from the shoal. A spokesperson from China's embassy also claimed the Chinese side had in fact taken a humanitarian approach, making temporary special arrangements for the Philippines to deliver necessary life supplies such as food, but that it had prevented the latest resupply as the Philippines tried to deliver construction materials for overhauling and reinforcing the grounded military vessel. These statements, together with a successful resupply mission, may suggest at least a temporary change in approach from China, with future supply missions more likely to go ahead with less interference, given the backlash both locally and internationally. However, these recent actions seem to have set in motion a realignment in the region, with other nations now looking to work together to counter the Chinese presence, including with the United States. Germany has abandoned plans which would have legally committed the country to meeting NATO's 2% military spending target after the budget financing law had the measure removed at the last minute. Germany will now instead attempt to average a 2% target over a 5-year period. While Germany had come in for criticism from its NATO allies for underinvesting in its military, the situation appeared to change after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, when the German Chancellor announced a sea change, stating, "From now on, we will invest more than 2% of GDP into our defense year after year." But this latest move appears to walk back this commitment. Germany's von der Leyen, the current EU president and former German defense minister, was recently reported to be the most likely candidate to take over as the head of NATO when the current Secretary General retires. The choice had come in for criticism given her tenure as defense minister and Germany's underspending, although the EU Commission president has since appeared to rule herself out for the role, saying her place is in Europe.